Welcome back to the Just Go Play podcast, where we talk about what you need to know to create positive sport experiences. Really excited about our guest today, Wade Gilbert, who's going to talk about quality coaching. Wade is the author of Coaching Better Every Season. If you have not got that book, get that book. It is like the Bible of coaching books. Unbelievable. Had a chance to read it over a year and a half ago. It's not just applicable to sport, it's applicable to business. So that's the shameless plug right there, but it's worthy. Award-winning professor, internationally renowned coaching scientist at the Department of Kinesiology at California State University, Fresno. Born and raised in Canada, holds degrees in physical education and kinetics, and the education has taught and studied coaching at the University of Ottawa, UCLA, and Fresno State. 25 years of experience in conducting applied research with coaches around the world, spanning all sports and competitive levels from youth to FIFA World Cup and the Olympic Games. If there's a guy that knows a little about this topic, it is Wade Gilbert. So we're super excited to have him. Thanks for joining us, Wade. Question number one. What is the difference between average, good, and great coaching?
Great question, and thanks for having me on the podcast. This is a great initiative. I love your energy and work that you guys are doing. Average, good, and great. Well, average coaches, I guess, show up, supervise. Good coaches go a little bit beyond that, and I guess you could say they maybe push the kids a little bit. But great coaches not only push the kids, they push themselves. So they're really invested in getting better because they understand that when they get better, their kids get better.
Now, Wade, you studied great coaching from coaches all across the world and all across different sports, and came back and really put that wisdom and knowledge into the book Coaching Better Every Season. What do you say to, the coaches that are, from your travels, you obviously know in different countries, we prioritize the quality and level of coaching based on, is it high performance? Okay, well, then we'll put the great coaches there. Is it development? Okay, well, we'll just leave the volunteer coaches there. What do you say? What have you seen in terms of the people that do it right, in terms of the consistency, no matter what the age and what the stage or level, whether it's house or high performance? What's your comment to that?
Yeah, the club system in a lot of countries kind of flips that model, don't they? They'll have alignment across their club. I see that with some of the schools. Like I just came back from doing some work with a private school here, kindergarten to grade 12. And all those coaches, like the club system, those coaches communicate. They have a common kind of culture and a way of coaching. So you'll have your varsity coach or your top level coaches will be coming down and running a practice with your 7 and 8 year olds, and those coaches will get to go to the practice with the older kids. And so it's more of a coaching team and a coaching culture. As opposed to, independent teams that all go off and do their own thing. So you want to have alignment there. You want to have a way of that's common across your club and across your environment. So yeah, you wouldn't necessarily see the idea of this kind of ladder where we'll just throw in the novices with the kids, and the most experienced, successful coaches will be working at the top of that ladder. They're moving up and down the ladder all the time.
Yeah, great analogy.
That's it. So my question, why does the sports system struggle to showcase good coaching? Great coaching, not good coaching. Why does the sports system struggle?
Well, it really depends on the country and the culture, and I think the issue here in North America is it's unlike any other sport environment in the world, and it's driven by my take, having thought about this a lot and having these conversations a lot. If you took away scholarships, college scholarships, you wouldn't have any of these issues. I mean, parents see that as a carrot that's kind of dangling out there. Sports Illustrated just last week, you may have seen it, they had a feature article. Women's World Cup is on right now. Signed a contract with Nike. She is on the practice squad with the Portland Timbers, the U.S. women's professional team. So that's kind of the model. That's what people see. Their parents are are pushing their kids, they view these youth sport experiences as career development. It's not a recreational or supplemental skill for them to develop, to learn teamwork, or to learn, just have fun with their friends or get better at sports. It's really viewed as a career trajectory. So we're training these kids for a job as a pro athlete, or at minimum a college Division I only, right? Never mind Division II or III years, small schools. It's got to be Division I. And so that's what everybody's pushing toward. They're kind of being pulled towards. It's like a magnet. You take that away, so you go to New Zealand, you go to Spain, you go to Norway, you go wherever, Singapore. They don't have that model. If there's sports in college, it's intramurals or club. It's fun. It's rec stuff, something you do on the side. But we have that model here, and it's spilled into Canada a little bit now too. So that's what I see driving the craziness, in a sense. But unfortunately, that, good or bad, I mean, that is our system. So how do we work within that system to help parents and coaches understand, number one, what is a good coach? And that depends on the stage of development, right? So a good coach for 7-year-olds would be different than a good coach for 18-year-olds. But we don't measure that. I haven't seen that. I have these conversations all the time. So how do you know if someone's a great coach? Come back. I'm coaching hockey right now. We had a camp last night. Parents want to know who's coaching the Bantam team, who's coaching this next year. Why? Well, we want to make sure we have a good coach. What's a good coach? What makes you say that? What makes you say so-and-so is a great coach? Oh, well, he coached 2 years ago and they won the state cup. Okay. So, and you had some stud 12-year-old that scored 50 goals. What did that have to do with that person coaching? And, oh, by the way, you lost 4 kids who aren't coming back to hockey because experience.
Wow.
That's a great point, Wade. So on that point, what are some of the things that you would say are indicators of great coaching and quality coaching? I mean, obviously the obvious is, did players return? And I agree with you. We use the schedule, the standings, and the score as markers for the quality of coach, but we don't actually ask the kids at any time through their 6 to 8 months, how am I doing as a coach? We don't get feedback from them. In return, we know they want fun, friends, fair competition. They want fair play, and they want to finish the season better than they started. But we don't actually measure that. You and I have talked about this forever. What are some of those markers that we should be looking for if we're a parent going, hey, listen, I'm interested in a coach? What do we look for?
Yeah, definitely. I'd want to see at minimum some level of preparation, simple as a practice plan. Hey, show me a practice plan. That to me is such a simple metric. Are they prepared to teach and create a good learning environment versus showing up and, supervising an hour or 2 hours of an activity and making stuff up on the fly. So being prepared. So how do they run practices? Are kids engaged? Are kids active? Are kids having fun? So again, it really depends on the context. So there's some general principles. Number one is you're coaching people, not a sport. So they need to understand that they need to have good people skills. They need to be able to connect with kids. They need to build relationships. They need to have trust there. And how do you build trust? You listen. You be a good listener. You invest in preparing for training sessions. So you have well-run training sessions. They're organized training sessions. So I think you could have a metric around, what do trainings look like or practices look like? How connected or invested are they with the kids? We've talked about the 4 C's. Like, are they connected to the kids? Do they help the kids build confidence in themselves? Do they help the kids get better? That's number one. To me, that should be no different than a school. You sign up for a sport, the first practice is a pre-test. We're going to run kids through a bunch of activities and drills, and we're going to get a baseline.
Right.
Your kid looks like in October. Measure me on what your kid looks like in March. on these same things? Did they get better at any of these things? We might go 0-20, but that's not the purpose at 6 or 8 or 10 or whatever it might be. And we want to win, so we don't want to diminish the importance of striving to win and being a competitor. Life is competitive. And it's funny, I was at the World Championships for ice hockey a couple weeks ago, and I did a session there, and one of the questions that came up was, well, what, a lot of the things you talk about seem to relate more to high performance and, highly competitive environments. I said, if you're alive and breathing, you live in a highly competitive environment. Life is competitive.
Right.
So there's nothing wrong with creating pressure and learning how to cope with and be resilient and cope with loss and push people. It's not a soft approach. All these things are connected. So we want to push kids, but anyways, I know I'm going off on a rant, but in terms of metrics, I think if nothing else, I always use the analogy of schools. And I had this exact conversation with a parent last night at the rink. They just wanted to know, like, I didn't get any feedback on if my kid got better. I have no, I can kind of see stuff, but I don't know the sport. So how do I know if this is a good investment? Is my kid getting any better? I have no feedback on that.
And it's interesting how, because I totally agree with that point. It's interesting how you'd think that'd be a common sense thing for parents, particularly. I mean, I've got experience. We went to an academy and I asked these questions largely because of the stuff that I read in your book. I asked what was their thoughts on long-term athlete development. What was their position on? I asked these questions, couldn't even give an answer. $30,000. Like what? Why would you pay $30,000? And I said, do the kids get baseline? What kind of evaluation is there? Nothing. No report cards. Nothing. $30,000. We're just. Why do you think it is that parents are just? Well, you've answered the question, because we automatically equate an inflated price to it must be a better product or service, but we don't actually even have any evidence that it is.
Yeah, I haven't seen that, unfortunately, with any club yet or any sport organization. So I'm trying to do that with the clubs that I'm involved with here. And the pushback, I've yet to meet anyone who has pushed back on the idea. Oh yeah, great idea. But people don't enact it. And the pushback there, I find often, is the time. So yeah, then we got to give up 2 practices to do that, one at the beginning, one at the end. And so it's changing the mindset. You're not giving up a practice. This is part of development.
Right.
And that's what we're going to do on Tuesday's practice. We're going to test all the kids.
Yeah, such a good point. It is such a good point, because what are we giving up? We're giving up unstructured nothing.
Yeah.
So why don't we actually get a baseline for what the kids are, so we actually know what we should be working on and have some ideas so we actually put it into place. So common sense. Okay, that's great, Wade. So kind of getting to the potatoes, 3 takeaways that new and returning coaches can use based on your experience to help them have the best, greatest positive impact that they can. 1 to 3 takeaways.
Sure. Number 1, be prepared. Invest. If I would say at minimum a 1-to-1 ratio. So if you have 3 hours of practice a week, you should probably be investing 3 hours of preparation. And at minimum, and I know volunteers and youth sport, and say, oh, where do I have time for that? We have time to do those things if we really want to. If you can maybe make that a bit of a goal, aim for kind of a 1-to-1 ratio if you can. I mean, people who really invest in coaching and make it as a living, they're investing much more than that. But right. If you kind of as a target, a 1-to-1 ratio. So at minimum, if you have an hour practice, you probably should be spending, upwards of an hour preparing a practice plan. Number 2, talk to the kids, not just at them. So talk with them, not just at them. So ask them, get to know your kids. Ask them about their interests, their hobbies, their personalities, their families. I recommend coaches keep a file on each kid, just like a patient file, right? For a doctor, it could be an index card, an Excel file, however you want to do that. Just keep a little file. This is the kid's favorite player. This is the kid has 3 brothers. Just a little profile. So you get a kid responds best when I do this, kid doesn't respond when I do this. John Wooden at UCLA did that with all his players, and I thought, why don't we do that at any level of sport? So keep a little file on each kid, connect with them, prepare for your training, really invest in your training. And then as a general rule of thumb, in competitions, get out of it. Less is more in competition from a coaching perspective. Just do your job in trainings, prepare them for these tests. That's what they are. So think about it this way. Imagine a teacher preparing kids for a math test. So all the training they do, and then the day the test comes, and the teacher's running up and down in between the desks in the classroom shouting at kids, no, don't put the decimal place there. No, look over there. Look. Hey, make sure you erase that one. No, you're going too fast. Go back to question 3. Just get out of the way. You prepared them, hopefully, if you did, right? Get out of the way, observe, and there's research on this. The better coaches, and you watch this at higher levels, the better coaches are the ones who are observing, taking notes, talking to their staff, things like that, looking for moments to intervene. They're not running up and down all over the place, yelling and screaming.
Awesome. Listen, I'm hearing this big time across everything you said. Communication is huge. Like, that sounds like the biggest thing for a coach to walk away. Another takeaway is communication has got to be down with the players and the parents. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges for coaches is their communication. I know in the hockey world, when they're going to cut a kid or they don't want a kid to play next year, they stop talking to him and the family. Mm-hmm. So, just based on what I'm hearing from you, Wade, I love it. And that was my one add on to that. You got anything to add to that?
Yeah, I'd say, again, as a general rule of thumb, over communicate. So we make a lot of assumptions. Oh yeah, the kids know, or oh yeah, that family knows. I'm pretty sure they know what's going on. No, they don't. Don't assume. Talk to the kids, over communicate, ask questions, but that takes time, and you have to invest in that as a coach. A lot of coaches, I don't have time for that. I mean, I see it all the time. They just, I did my job. I was on the ice. I ran a practice. I do the games. I don't talk to parents. I don't really care. You need to care. You need to connect, and you need to communicate. You need to ask questions. That's part of leading a team.
Awesome. Fantastic. Wade Gilbert, 15 minutes. Thanks very much for your time. If people want to connect with you, they can connect with your book. It's on Amazon. It's on Human Kinetics. They can connect direct there. Coaching Better Every Season. It's a good read. You don't have to sit down and read it all at once, but it's nicely broken down into the preseason, in-season, end of season, and then reflections. So I really like how that's scheduled. And I'd say a must prerequisite for anybody who's thinking about coaching. It'll give you everything that you want. If you're serious about coaching, no matter what level, that is the resource. Wade, thanks so much for all that you're doing. And a pleasure to have you on our podcast.
Thanks, Wade. Yeah. Thanks, brother.
Thanks, guys. Keep up the great work. We need you out there.
And with that, time to just go play.
Yes.